I saw this video. I want to check it out.
Governing body helper Jonathan Smith recently gave a speech at headquarters, priming Jehovah's Witnesses to follow any future instructions, even if doing so might put them in, quote, danger. This is a notch up from past warnings that explicitly state witnesses should be ready to obey, even if the instructions seem illogical or you just don't like it. It's true.
Yeah, illogical as in when you need blood, you can't, they tell you not to take blood. Illogical as in when they're saying to, uh, that by not taking blood, you are choosing life, and by taking blood, you are choosing death, even though you're choosing to live when you take blood when you need it. This is the same stuff I've always heard.
That Jehovah's Witnesses have been hearing this type of language for years, but this is new.
We will be saved only if we obey the instructions we receive at that time. We might occasionally find it a challenge to follow Jehovah's guidance, especially when it is conveyed by imperfect men. The counsel may conflict with our likes
Imperfect
or
men that like to touch
dislikes,
children.
or we might feel that the direction is unwise. We may receive instructions that seem strange, impractical, or even illogical. What if we receive instructions from Jehovah's organization that at first seem ineffective? Maybe these instructions seem to make our life
I find it so sick that they can sit there and just shove this down people's throats and just call it like they're the only ones who have the right way. I really do feel like the more and more that this goes on, it feels like a Jim Jones. It really does. I believe that's his name. Uh, the Jim Jones, you know. Eventually it's gonna come into the thing where I feel like more than it already has, where it's been in the past, if you need organ donations, you cannot have organ donations. Um then they changed that. So all the people that needed organ donations that they were told they couldn't have it died for no reason. Um and now it's the same thing with the blood. So this is twice that they have been caught in murder, because in the past you cannot store your own blood and use it later. That's what people were told, and now it doesn't matter if you do that. Uh, this is it's just so disgusting. I I hate watching their videos, but it's just like the more that it goes on, the more insane it gets.
even harder? Or what if the instructions we receive seem overly intrusive into our personal lives? Or what if we don't understand
Wow.
the reasons for certain instructions?
Yeah, overly intrusive, as in when you go to the hospital and you have to go through a medical procedure, they send a liaison team to examine your medical stuff to make sure it says what they want it to say. I don't see how it could get any more intrusive than that, other than uh making sure that the rank and file follow whatever lead that they are told to follow. I mean, uh you have already crossed the line of being intrusive into basically brainwashing people.
Or what if instructions from Jehovah's organization seem to put us in danger? Now's the time to train ourselves to trust Jehovah, trust those whom he is using, and faithfully obey, even in little things.
But if you see those, if you go look at those court records, don't trust the court records about all the pedophilia that's going on in there right now. Don't trust those. Those are just mentally ill apostate lies from the United States judicial system.
Doing so prepares us not just for the Great Tribulation, but for the days ahead.
The Jehovah's Witnesses have a long standing reputation of practicing blind obedience. As a former member of 30 years, I can tell you right now that Jehovah's Witnesses are steadily conditioned to do things that go against their better judgment that they wouldn't do of their own volition. And they don't just wake up one morning and decide to cut off their family members, let their child die instead of receive a life-saving blood transfusion. But I'm noticing an even more disturbing pattern in recent years. And I know I'm not the only one. It's no secret that Jehovah's Witnesses have been making rapid fire changes in recent years. Men can grow beards, women can wear pants. Attending college is suddenly okay. It's up to one's conscience, and we shouldn't judge someone who decides that that's the route they want to take.
You know though that they are fucking being shadow banned for taking that route. I I just I just feel it, man. I just feel it that people are being like shadow banned for taking that route and choosing higher education over wanting to do work a part-time job in Pioneer all the time. It's like and like I say that not because it's a change that they made. I say that it's because of how the culture is. You don't, just because they say that that's changed, the mentality doesn't change right away. The mentality takes years to change. So people are still being abused and judged, looked down on for making rational decisions and wanting to better their life.
But the thing is, what appears to be these sudden, abrupt, dare I say, progressive policy changes in recent years aren't actually abrupt. Just like this lecture from Smith will tell you, like I said, I've grown up in the organization. Jehovah's Witnesses have been trained, conditioned for decades to follow the changing winds wherever the wind may blow. They're
Yep.
expected to fall in line. So in this video, I'm just going to sort of toss my own theory into the ring about what I think this is all about. Purely speculation, purely my opinion. And I'm going to do this first by addressing 3 of the most concerning developments in the organization in the past few years, and specifically how the role of institutional coercion, fancy way of saying peer pressure, from the Jehovah's Witnesses religious leaders in the congregation, how this role of institutional coercion is taking the Jehovah's Witnesses down, indeed, a dangerous path and turning them into a really scary social experiment. All right, so I'm going to try to go in order here. In 2013, this definitely caught our attention. Some of us were still active members. They put out a statement, okay? The organization put out a statement that, quote, all of us must be ready to obey any instructions we may receive, whether these appear sound from a strategic or human standpoint or not. Okay, so
Yep.
just echoing what Smith said earlier. But
I
now
remember
here's the
that.
thing about this statement. Jehovah's Witnesses are so used to being told what to do. I would wager that most of us who are now awake, who are now out, probably didn't even blink an eye when this came out. But for others who are already on the fence, maybe already 1 foot out the door, it was their wake-up call to get out. So I'm quoting this particular article for a reason, because this laid the groundwork to start introducing little changes that would have otherwise been considered blasphemous, such as, yes, their dress code changes. I mean, we all laugh at it and we make fun of it, but through the lens of a boomer who was told that if she didn't wear a skirt and pantyhose to the Kingdom Hall, her worship wouldn't be acceptable to Jehovah. It would be disrespectful to approach Jehovah's house of
Good
worship like that.
lord.
She's in her 70s now, and you're telling her she can wear a pair of dress slacks to the Kingdom Hall? I mean, sure, we laugh at it, but that was a big change, and you could argue it was strategic. I mean, the organization is an old, dusty, dying religion. And by the way, when I say that, I'm not being ageist. All right, I would take Sean Connery over Timothy Chalamet any day. I mean, any day of the week and twice on Sundays. But again, seriously, it looks like a silly, ridiculous change. Like, great, okay, you joined the 21st century. Now all your men don't look like they're permanently prepubescent. They just knew they weren't relatable. They knew they were going to have to start making some changes, or else they were going to become increasingly irrelevant in the new millennium. But they also knew they couldn't make these big changes in one fell swoop. So they start with the dress code change, okay? And this is where the coercive element comes in that I'm talking about. The whole dress code thing would have been considered questionable 10, 15, 20 years ago. Why? Because one of
Something I want to say is that the dress code was very strict 10 years ago. And when I say very strict, I mean like when you walked into a Kingdom Hall, they would have on the information board, right? Because Oh, it's always the information board, and it was always posted like if you wanted to take a trip to Bethel, New York, and see Bethel, New York, how you were supposed to be dressed, and what they like allowed was pretty strict versus what they say is like okay to do now. So pretty much the expectation if you were a witness was if you go to Bethel, you're expected, if you're a woman, expected to wear a dress or skirt, whatever. If you're a guy, expected to wear a suit. And that was what everyone followed because that's what they were told to do. So yeah, the dress code change is a huge shock. And I was honestly kind of like taken aback from it when I first heard about it.
The hallmarks of a cult is telling people what they can wear. If you just
Yep.
look at the Bite model developed by Stephen Hassan, the group that you're a part of could be considered a cult if it attempts to, quote, control types of clothing and hairstyles. Never forget, beards and pants were at one time punishable offenses. They
Oh yeah.
adjusted and regulated their behavior based on
You would be like, so if you were a brother who had privileges and or a publisher who had privileges, and you could carry the mics, you could give parts on the the school, you could read the watchtower on Sundays, all of these things. If you did that and they saw you growing your sideburns out too long or having your mustache grow out too long or a little bit of hair underneath the lip, they would just take your privileges away. And they would tell you to like correct yourself, and it would probably be two elders together with you in the back room telling you that your dress code is not acceptable and you are disrespecting God by looking that way.
this threat, not because they just love being clean shaven and love their maxi skirts. This was just the beginning. And what makes it even more, in my opinion, sneaky is that this first change. Yes, like I said, it was shocking to the old timers, but it was just innocuous enough. I mean, this might sound like a strong comparison to make, but when a predator seeks to abuse a child, they don't do the big main act of abuse right away. What do? Little gifts, little words of praise, little acts of affection, candy. On the surface seems harmless enough. Oh, this adult thinks that I'm special, is doing all these little things for me, earns the child's trust, and it's usually someone the child knows. I stand 10 toes down on this that the dress code change was just the beginning, was the first in a long line of changes that was priming Jehovah's Witnesses for something bigger down the line. Okay, so you got the organization doing something seemingly harmless, like, oh, you can dress differently now. But then, as of 2024, they're telling witnesses, if you attend college, it's a matter of conscience. No one should make you feel guilty. It's a matter of conscience. Whether you want to pursue higher education. When they shat on higher education, they
Yes, for
shat on
years.
college.
For years they did that. For years. Like 2006, I think there was maybe 2006, 2009, I'm not sure what the year was, but it was in the 2000s. There were articles coming out for the Watchtower that it encouraging young teenagers to drop out of high school because like the 10th grade was like they said a proper education, and to get a GED is enough to succeed in the world and then go full time for pioneer service. And it's like, what in the fuck are you talking about? And like the whole like school systems, whenever they see that, they get really alarmed because you're supposed to encourage your child for higher education, not for dropping out to go serve a cult. Like that's not going to get you anywhere in life, but that's what my generation was encouraged to do. And I'm sure I'm sure definitely older generations, I don't, like the generations that were graduating in the 2010s were also encouraged to do the same thing. But the point that I'm trying to get across with this is this rule was so ridiculous, and they really did shit on it so much that I'm sure in 2023, if someone would have said, I want to go to college full time and I want to start studying for whatever, they will probably have a negative reaction from the congregation, even though this change happened in 2023, and probably a negative reaction from the leaders in the congregation, even though this changed in 2024, to having them say that it's okay to do that now. So you're just going to act like that all the lives that you have ruined with your constant rhetoric about how higher education is bad because it's from the devil and it's there to ensnare you. You ruin these people's lives, and they're not going to get that time back that they spent because they were so indoctrinated, that their families were so indoctrinated that them going to school and getting a higher education was a punishable offense, and some families would kick their children out for it because of what Watchtower shoved down their throat.
For decades. This was understandably infuriating to a lot of former J-dubs, but I do find it funny because not like haha funny, but it was technically never a rule that you couldn't go, but you were highly, highly strongly discouraged. But it was never technically a rule, so you would have people that are like, oh, I've been using my conscience this whole time. I'm gonna go anyway. That's what I did, and I got shit for it. My point being that there's people who didn't wait on the GB. You know, they just used their conscience and went anyway. But you see the way they frame that, the fact that they framed it that way, that, oh, well, now we've decided that it's a matter of conscience. Like, you got to wait on these men to make a
Like, that's something else too, is the conscience rule, right? So Watchtower proclaims over and over and over again that for medical decisions and education decisions, one has to use their conscience, while Watchtower continuously imposes on one's conscience from their beginning of their journey with Watchtower. Whether it be from birth or from someone just walking in and deciding to take a study and then it goes from there, Watchtower is constantly imposing on their conscience. So how can you say that it's a conscientious matter when you're constantly imposing on one's conscience and putting them into situations where they're either forced to change around their conscience, or they're blacklisted, they're shadow banned basically, because their conscience didn't match what the congregation thought that they should do, or what, because so many people already are fully indoctrinated, and they already have their scriptures and their articles ready to go to like discourage a person from doing something that's probably really good to do in their life for education, and later on to down the road, money, having a family. All of this stuff is it's just, how do you say this is a conscience matter when you constantly impose on other people's conscience?
major personal life decision shows you the coercive nature of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But circling back, unlike other denominations like the Mormons, for instance, I mean, they got their crap, but unlike other denominations where this was never an issue, Jehovah's Witnesses have historically been discouraged, if I haven't said it a million times already, from pursuing higher education because of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They're going to learn about evolution. They're going to be exposed to ideas
That's
that
another thing.
challenge the Jehovah's
Evolution.
Witnesses ideology. They're absolutely going to be exposed to people and
The Neanderthal beats Jehovah's Witness every day because they do not believe in evolution. A Neanderthal beats Watchtower every single day because they do not believe in evolution. And it's such a stupid thing that human evolution over the years, whether it be um the Neanderthals or whatever they're called before humans were called, before the Neanderthals, before definitely before Homo sapiens, all of that just goes out the window. They say that it's not real when there's so much stuff and so much supporting evidence to say that it is real and that it did exist at one time, and that it's still in human DNA today. It still shows up in human DNA today. So I guess a Neanderthal can outsmart Watchtower, because it blows a huge fucking hole in how they perceive or how they teach others to perceive how the world works.
Ideas and ways of life that they've been inoculated against this whole time in the organization. Again, hallmarks of a cult. This is behavior control and information control. To give you some idea, if you're not a former Jehovah's Witness, this robbed generations of Jehovah's Witnesses of opportunity, of financial opportunity, to go to college, earn a degree, especially back in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, to earn a degree that would pay higher wages so that they could support their families better. But
Yep.
you see, now that all the boomers are dying off, they need money. See, boomers were their cash cow, and even
Oh
a
yeah.
huge chunk of this cohort has barely scraped by,
Boomers were cash cows, and also the greater generation and the silent generation, even though they were kind of like older maybe when they came in, because I feel like Watchtower really picked up in, like, I guess the 50s or 60s maybe, um right, like right before the decade of 1975 fiasco. But a lot of those people knew how to make money back then and worked really hard to make it, and made sure that they had money to give to the church, because that's just what people did back then. A lot of people just went to church and gave money to the church to support what they believed in, which is fine. uh but yeah, boomers are dying off. Boomers were taught that Christianity is everything and that's it. So but now people from uh millennial generation, Zoomers, Gen X, uh, a lot people don't believe so much of that anymore because of the way that they were treated, the abuse that they took, and the abuse that they still see that continues to go on with nothing being done about it. So I really think that all the changes that have only happened because Watchtower is losing money, not because they care about the person, not because they care about the congregation, how the people are really doing. An average like Jehovah's Witness family, because I really do believe that Watchtower just does not give a shit about those people. Um, but it's just about how much money that they can take from them, how much they can get out from them, less uh, Watchtower can contribute to them because they have to have their buildings that they build by human trafficking and then sell for millions of dollars. They got a building built with free labor because of human trafficking. And I don't care if someone went and signed something, okay? Because at the end of the day, when they build their buildings, right? The children that end up showing up, well, children or teenagers, maybe, I think you got to be like 15, I think is the minimal age to go and work in a site for like a quick build or something. They may have changed that now. They may have completely changed that, but still, when I was a child and teenager, had to be done. You like it's not only me, but a lot of the kids were pressured that they had to go and show their support for Jehovah by giving the society free labor. That's human trafficking. I don't care, like, even trying to tell a child or guilt a child into cleaning an assembly hall or coliseum after a convention, it is human trafficking. And they're making money off of you while also taking your money and taking your life. Should something horrible happen and you need blood.
had financial issues their whole life because they didn't go to college. All right, so now the organization is having to appeal to Gen Z and Gen Alpha who are coming up. They got to walk back their stupid anti college stance, but they also can't openly endorse college. It's a tricky line they got to walk. But the whole college thing is just another example of this gradual conditioning that's coming from the top. And finally, and this isn't the last change they've made, is after 50 plus years, they change their blood policy. Thousands upon thousands. If you're not familiar with Jehovah's Witness history and culture, countless innocent Jehovah's Witnesses died
Children too.
unnecessarily because of the organization's
Children have
prohibition,
died
because
who
of their
were
ban
not
on blood
baptized
transfusions. And this is far too extensive and heavy a
because
topic
of their
to do.
role.
I'm not going to do a deep dive here. Bottom line, they're not saying that you can get blood transfusions now, but they made an ever so slight policy change that would allow certain procedures. Again, far too extensive a topic, but if you had a certain condition or whatever, it made an ever so slight policy tweak where they're allowing certain procedures that would require blood. Now, the dress code change doesn't seem so random. If you lost a loved one to the blood transfusion ban and you're still a devout witness, the degree of denial to swallow that change is evil.
It is.
It's pure evil.
It is.
But you were told. You were told to obey,
No matter
even
what
if
it
it
is.
seems illogical. If it seems illogical, it doesn't make sense, you just don't like it. It was more abstract back then.
I with the bite model, but this thing of obey no matter what is the perfect thing for an American to give up their rights to an institution and basically just be a cash cow, but also a supporter that brings in more cash for them while losing their rights and losing loved ones via removal from the congregation or death because a horrible accident happened and they needed blood and they couldn't get it. And also if you know that JWs, and I'm just saying, I don't know how they would really react if they had to step in, like, who knows this guy? And one of them said that like they did, and even though you couldn't really do much then, or maybe you're being pressured to try and do a lot then to to sign like a power of like attorney thing, and you're doing this with a person who doesn't believe that a blood transfusion is worth saving their life, you're in a very dangerous situation. Because I'm just saying, because some people don't have that set up before. Some people don't have anything set up so they can talk to them past it. And it's a very scary situation that if you are put into and you're with Jehovah's Witnesses and you need blood, and doctors are like, well, do you consent if we give them blood? And then they're gonna be like, no, because they're gonna say, I don't want that on my conscience. So you're gonna die because of someone's conscience, because someone has been brainwashed and manipulated and believing that choosing death is life and choosing life is death. There is I just don't know how to say that it doesn't make any sense, other than these people are actually the ones that I think are mentally ill. And I say that because they want to say that mentally ill apostates are bad. Well, mentally ill apostates know that taking blood when you need it saves their life. So how that's being mentally ill, I'm not sure. Also not sure how it is that refusing blood and dying is not considered suicide, because you need blood to live. How is not taking it not considered suicide? And if it's not considered suicide, then you just sacrificed yourself for a deity. So that's a human sacrifice. And if that happens to a child, which it has thousands of times, because parents are taught that you always got to guard your children, you can't let Satan's world swallow them up. So if the child needs blood, they don't get it because their parents don't believe in it, even though that child is not a baptized Jehovah's Witness. So that child is then sacrificed to a deity. So that's child sacrifice, and that's what Watchtower believes in.
When we heard it in 2013 and in years prior to that, it was more abstract. In your head, you're thinking, because this is what we're taught, maybe they mean, because, in the latter half of the 20th century, this is what we all heard. Maybe it means, be prepared to be thrown into a boxcar. You're headed to a concentration camp. The government's coming to get you.
Yes,
You're going to be put
yes,
before a
I
firing
remember
squad. You're going to
that.
have to sign a declaration
The
signing
mid
your,
2000s,
renouncing your faith. Like, those were always the examples we were
and also
given.
2009 with
But
that
what if
Paul
it's,
book.
hey, remember how your daughter, your 10-year-old daughter, died unnecessarily because we wouldn't allow this procedure? Yeah, it's cool now. She can
Yeah, that's murder.
conditioned.
You have murdered people,
Smith also
Watchtower.
mentions in his lecture
The
that
GB
the
are
governing body
murderers.
wants everyone to know how proud they are of Jehovah's Witnesses for following orders when it came to the COVID-19 response. Now, for most Jehovah's Witnesses, that meant complying with mask mandates, attending services on Zoom instead of the Kingdom Hall. For others, it meant get vaccinated or lose your position.
Yep.
During the early part of the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were asked to stop meeting at our kingdom halls and to suspend our house-to-house ministry, did you struggle to obey? Yet your obedience protected you, united you with your fellow believers, and pleased Jehovah. All of us are now better prepared to obey any instructions we receive
This guy's so fucking
during
full of shit,
the
man.
Great Tribulation.
I mean, what's next? Take this pill and wake up in paradise. I'm being only slightly hyperbolic. What is a Jehovah's Witness supposed to surmise from language that suggests that they should obey, even if it seems the organization is putting them in, quote, danger? So I know a lot of us in XJW circles or in the XJW community, we have family who are still in. A lot of us are shunned. And a lot of us have, almost all of us, have had the conversation about Jonestown. Like, oh no, what if they're prepping Jehovah's Witnesses to drink the Kool-Aid? Personally, I'm just going to say this now. I don't think that's ever going to happen with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization, is filthy rich. They'd be killing their piggy bank. I get why people's brains would go there. I'm not making light of it or making fun of it. But Jim Jones, he was a fringe preacher who went off the rails, took his small, in comparison to the Jehovah's Witnesses,
That's
his
true
small
too. Yeah.
congregation, took this isolated community to a compound in Guyana. It was horrific. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not going to poison millions of Jehovah's Witnesses. They'd be killing their money. All right, ruling in heaven with Jesus as kings and priests is their booby prize. So yeah, if you're stressed about that, highly improbable that they would ever pull a Jim Jones. No. My 2 cents, yes, this is disturbing language, even if it puts you in danger. But my theory is that they are facing mountains of litigation for various reasons, and they're going to be looking for new and inventive ways to get the rank and file to fall on the sword for them. I mean, Philip Brumley, head attorney for Watchtower, got sanctioned by the court, upheld on appeal, had to pay
I did a
$154,000 for
video on
signing
that.
sworn affidavits he knew were not true. So, personally, I think that's what all of this is culminating in. It's 2026, the chickens have come home to roost, and the recent social media launch that we're seeing on TikTok and Instagram, this whole JW press room thing, it's just a strategic distraction to throw witnesses off the scent and try to, in their own way, which is ridiculous, they're not going to succeed, their own way to try to untarnish their reputation in greater society and try to win goodwill with the public. Whatever it is.
Look. All right, hold on. All right. Like, you see on social media, all these people, they're all look highly educated, they have highly paying jobs, it seems like. But what they're not showing you is that when you get to the Kingdom Hall, these people are also with pedophiles in those Kingdom Halls. That, like earlier in the video, she said takes a slow approach to the children, giving them little gifts, giving them little praise, uh maybe convincing the parents to, you know, go out and have food with their children while the parents go off and take a break and, you know, just have time to themselves, which a lot of people do. uh that's what that's who these people are surrounded by. That's what this organization, Jehovah's Witnesses, protects because of their two witness rule. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna show this side on social media, show the other side too. Show the side that you're desperately trying to deny and hide exists, Watchtower.
and try to win goodwill with the public. Whatever it is, yeah, it's scary. It's putting the rank and file in compromising positions. I suspect putting them in a position to take the fall for whatever their religious leaders are about to do or have done. And like I mentioned, a lot of us have family members who are still stuck inside, who are either brainwashed or too terrified to speak up.
Yep.
So, hearing talks like this, with this
Fear, that's fear of like what to actually do. They're stunned in fear. They don't know what to do. They panic. They do what they've read. And when they do what they've read, they instinctively fall to basically abandon their family members that have left, shun them because they're told that that would give them better peace and bring them to a safer place with God. And I can't think of a more horrible way to treat a person than shunning them, because it is against their rights as a human. And I've been told that they do that because once they committed a terrible sin against God, that they're no longer considered a human. So it's okay for them to do that, which is absolutely horrible. I've heard that in a congregation that I used to be a part of. I have a cousin that believes that. And it's really sad. It's really sad that people believe that the only thing that they can do is try and kill their family to get closer to God and to have ease and to have a clear mind. It's so much stuff that goes on in a place, quote unquote, that is driven by love, that just ends up killing people.
sort of language understandably has a lot of us, in XJW circles, understandably has a lot of us on edge. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. If you'd like to keep up with these developments, learn more about the inner workings of the Jehovah's Witnesses from a former member of 30 years, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.
Nice video. I think she has like a book coming out or something. Yeah. She does have a book coming out. Or the book may already be out.